Sir Brandon had played a part in every victory her son had won. Galbart Glover had taken command of the scouts and outriders in his place. A good man, loyal and steady, but without the Blackfish's brilliance. The Thoughts of Catelyn Stark on Galbart Glover, A Storm of Swords, Chapter 45, Catelyn 5. House Glover of Deepwood Motte is a noble house from the north, and is among the main and principal houses sworn to the Starks of Winterfell. Galbart Glover is the current Lord of Deepwood Motte, which is located in the northwestern Wolfswood. The smaller houses of Bowl, Branch, Forrester and Wood are sworn to the Glovers. Their blazon is a silver mailed fist over scarlet. Their seat of Deepwood Motte itself is an old-style moat and bailey fort, which was originally the seat of the petty Glover kings during the Age of Heroes. It is thought that they ruled much of the Wolfswood during this time, before eventually falling to House Stark. Deepwood Motte is an old but not particularly strong castle compared to the likes of the Dreadfort or Winterfell, located on top of a wide rounded hill with a flattened top, which does offer some good natural defence. The castle itself is cavernous, like a long hall, with a watchtower rising 50 feet high. Their keep has an exterior stair. Below the hill is a bailey containing a stable, paddock, smithy, as well as a sheepfold. These are defended by deep ditches, sloping earthen dikes, and log palisades. The kitchens are located within Deepwood Motte's inner yard, and the castle also has a godswood and a cellar. The castle itself has a mossy wooden outer wall that makes an oval about the hill, which is protected by narrow walkways. Gates located to the north and south of each have square wooden towers, with moss growing on the southern tower and palisade. Deepwood Motte has at least one postern gate located on its eastern side. East and west of the castle are fields of oat and barley. North of the castle lies tidal flatlands leading to the Bay of Ice. Deepwood Motte is about 5 leagues south of the Bay of Ice, 100 miles northwest of Winterfell. The dense forest by Deepwood Motte includes soldier pines, sentinels, beech ash, ancient oaks, chestnut trees, ironwoods and firs. We know of a Benton Glover who served as first ranger of the Night's Watch when Queen Alysanne Targaryen visited the north in 58 AC. He took her to the top of the wall when she visited the Night Fort. It is also known that men of House Glover aided Lord Cregan Stark in hunting down the free folk raiders of Silas the Grim in 133 AC. We also believe that Jorah Mormont's first wife, chosen by his father Gior, was a Glover of Deepwood Motte. They were married 10 years and she died after her third miscarriage. A few years later, an Ethan Glover became a close friend and squire to Brandon Stark, the heir to Winterfell. When Brandon learned of his sister Lyanna's abduction at the hands of Rhaegar Targaryen, Prince of Dragonstone, he took off for King's Landing at once with Geoffrey Mallister, Carl Royce, Albert Arryn, and Ethan Glover. When they entered the Red Keep and demanded Rhaegar come out and die, King Aerys II, the Mad King, had Brandon's party arrested for threatening the life of the Crown Prince. The fathers of all the men were called to King's Landing to answer for their supposed crimes. The king had the fathers and sons all executed, with only Ethan spared, for reasons that are never made clear. Aerys then demands that Jon Arryn, Lord of the Eyrie, execute his wards, Lord Robert Baratheon, and the new Lord of Winterfell, Brandon's younger brother, Eddard Stark. However, Jon Arryn refuses this command, and Robert's rebellion therefore begins. After King Aerys' death in the sack of King's Landing, Eddard lifts the siege of Storm's End. After that he rides to the Red Mountains with Ethan, Martin Cassel, Theo Wool, Howland Reed, Sir Mark Risewell, and Willem Dustin, Lord of Barrington. At the Tower of Joy, they were confronted by the last 3 members of Aerys' Kingsguard, the legendary Sir Arthur Dayne, Sir Oswell Went, and the Lord Commander Gerald Hightower. All but Eddard Stark and Howland Reed were slain in the ensuing fighting. Afterwards, Eddard had the tower pulled down and used the stones to build cairns for his fallen friends. Deepwood is a moat and bailey castle in the midst of thick black forests, easy to creep up on unawares. A wooden castle defended by earthen dikes and palisades of logs. Jon Snow to Stannis Baratheon on Deepwood Motte, A Dance with Dragons Chapter 17, Jon 4. Just before the onset of the War of the Five Kings, after learning the Lannisters were involved in the attempted murder of Bran Stark, Lord Eddard Stark orders Catelyn Stark to send word to Sir Helman Tallheart and Galbart Glover to raise 100 bowmen and fortify Moat Cailin. Bran Stark would later recognise the mailed fist of the Glovers, silver on scarlet, among the northern banners that answer Robb Stark's call to Winterfell after Eddard is arrested for treason at the death of King Robert Baratheon. Lord Galbart's brother Robert demands the honour of battle command, though with a smile and jest. The brothers greet Catelyn when she joins Robb's army at Moat Cailin on the march south towards the Neck. When Robb Stark splits his army at the Twins, Galbart stays with him, while Robert is assigned to the army commanded by Lord Roose Bolton. Galbart is thought to be a tactful, accommodating, and good, loyal, steady man, if unexceptional in many ways. He is currently not married, and appears to be a widower, with no children of his own, his heir at this time being his younger brother Robert. Robert is said to be tall, with a deep-lined face and brown-grey hair. He wears mail beneath a red surcoat, and a scarlet cloak, clasped with a silver brooch in the shape of the mailed fist of his house. Arya Stark, while at Harrenhal, believes him to be a lord when she notices the proud way he holds his head and his whole bearing. Robert would fight Tywin Lannister's main host at the Green Fort, while Galbart would fight in the Battle of the Whispering Woods near Riverrun. He would object to supporting King Joffrey Baratheon, and is in attendance when Robb is proclaimed king in the north, within the Great Hall of Riverrun, one of the loudest voices to proclaim so. The Glovers play a part in the succession of the Hornwood lands, as they are fostering Lawrence Snow, the bastard of Lord Hallis Hornwood. Thus they are keen to see him become Lord of Hornwood. However, this matter is hardly a priority, given the War of the Five Kings. When Robert and Galbart went south with Robb Stark, they left Robert's wife, Sybil Glover, in charge of Deepwood Motte. She is said to be a very pious woman who spends much of her time praying in Deepwood Motte's Godswood. When the castle steward comes to Winterfell for the harvest feast, Bran Stark realises it's really the steward and not Lady Glover who is making the decisions at Deepwood Motte. It's believed that Sybil does not want to subject her small children to the long journey, nor leave them behind. Sybil and her children are later captured when Deepwood is taken by Iron Men, led by Asha Greyjoy. During Robb Stark's campaign in the Westerlands, Lord Galbart and Lord Rickard Karstark raid along the coast of the Sunset Sea after the Battle of Oxcross. Robert, meanwhile, is held prisoner at Harrenhal, reportedly having been made a prisoner of the brave companions. In fact, the Northmen and sellswords conspire to take the massive castle. Robert is one of northern commanders told to strike Duskendale by Roose Bolton, reporting supposed orders from Robb Stark, when in fact he sent no such orders. Asha Greyjoy was seated in Galbart Glover's long hall, drinking Galbart Glover's wine, when Galbart Glover's maester brought the letter to her. The Thoughts of Asha Greyjoy, A Dance with Dragons Chapter 26, The Wayward Bride. Robert Glover survives the battle at Duskendale and leads the few survivors in a retreat, only to come across Sir Gregor Clegane, who is waiting for them on the King's Road. King Robb later exchanges prisoners with Lord Tywin, trading a young Martin Lannister for Robert, who is put on a ship at Duskendale for White Harbour. Lord Galbart returns to Riverrun with Robb, for his demeanour is cool towards Lady Catelyn, as she has freed Sir Jaime Lannister from captivity in the castle. When news reaches Riverrun of Robert's capture at Duskendale, Galbart fears for his brother's life. It is partly that fear that causes Robb to trade Martin Lannister for Robert. Galbart is among the Northmen who march with Robb Stark to the Twins, attend the wedding of Lord Edmure Tully to Roslyn Frey, with Sir Brendan Tully, the Blackfish, remaining at Riverrun as Warden of the Southern Marches. Galbart is named commander of Robb's scouts and outriders. Galbart and two men try to cross the flooded Blue Fork at Ramsford, but two horses and one man are drowned, and Galbart has to be rescued while clinging to a rock. At Hagsmere, after receiving news of the death of King Balon Greyjoy, Robb advances his plans to retake Moat Cailin, while Lord Captain Victarion Greyjoy is away, back on the Iron Islands. Lord Galbart is then ordered by Robb to go with Lord Jason Mallister and Lady Mage Mormont to Seaguard and sail up the neck to find Greywater Watch, so the Crannog men can direct Robb's army around the rear of the ancient fortress of Moat Cailin. But Robb is later killed in the Red Wedding. Though Jason Mallister remains at Seaguard, Galbart and Mage's whereabouts is currently unknown. It is believed they are also in possession of Robb Stark's will, where he named his heir. Asha Greyjoy later brings Sybil Glover and her young children to 10 Towers on Harlaw in the Iron Islands. Along the way, Sybil's milk dries up, and they stop at the stony shore to search for a wet nurse for her babe. Instead, they find a goat. Asha has Sybil and her children quartered in one of the castle's towers instead of a dungeon. When Asha later returns to Deepwood Motte with Sybil after the Kingsmoot on Old Wit and the ascension of Euron Greyjoy as king, but they leave Sybil's children at 10 Towers as hostage, under the watchful eye of House Harlaw. Sybil now spends much of her time in Deepwood Motte's Godswood, praying for the safe return of her children and her husband, as Robert is still making his way north after his own captivity. Asha allows Galbart Glover's maester to inform Sybil about a letter sent from Baratheon by Ramsay Bolton. When the mountain clansmen try to infiltrate Deepwood Motte in advance of Stannis Baratheon's attack on the castle, Asha and Lauren Longaxe and Six-Toed Harl bring Lady Glover and the maester before her. Once Sybil arrives from the Godswood on the arm of her bedmaid, she tells Asha that she had previously warned the Northmen would not try to recover Deepwood Motte. Lady Glover urged Asha to surrender to Stannis and be exchanged for Sybil's children, but Asha decided instead to make for her longships on the Bay of Ice. Asha is subsequently captured in the fighting at Deepwood Motte. King Stannis, courteous with Sybil but uncomfortable in her presence, restores Deepwood Motte to House Glover, with Sybil sending men sworn to Deepwood Motte with Stannis for his march on Winterfell, including guides, trackers and hunters. The status of Sybil's children is currently unclear. Across the north at White Harbour, Davos Seaworth, acting as an envoy for Stannis Baratheon, learns that Robett Glover has arrived at White Harbour after the prisoner exchange and tried to raise an army. However, he had little success, as Lord Wyman Manderley and White Harbour are reportedly now weary of war, publicly supporting King Tommen and House Frey. Wyman has Davos imprisoned in the Wolf's Den. A haggard Robert escorts Davos to a secret meeting in the new castle with Wyman, where the three discuss the possibility of White Harbour aligning itself with Stannis. Robert expresses his gratitude when he learns that Stannis defeated Asha in the fight at Deepwood Motte and returned the castle to House Glover. He had been teaching Wex Pike, a survivor of the sack of Winterfell, to read and write, which provides him and Wyman with the information that Robb Stark's younger brothers, Bran and Rickon Stark, survived the sack, and that Rickon has gone to Skagos. Robert claims he will join with Stannis when Davos returns Rickon.